Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of On-Prem Pros. You know me, Ryan Brown, the host. I am joined by Tyler Young, one of my normal partners in crime. You guys hopefully know him pretty well at this point. We have a new person joining us, another solution architect from xByte Technologies, LJ Palin. LJ, welcome.
Right, thanks.
And today we have exciting content around 17th gen Dell servers. So they've relatively new. It's the newest lines out there. And we want to give you guys a general sense of what's new. And I'll throw it to Tyler first. There's for several generations, Dell had a kind of a standard naming convention for CPUs. That's changed now. Can you give us some information about that, Tyler, and just kind of like the general CPU?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Xeon 6 processors, Intel stepped away from the metal tier nomenclature that we've seen for years, and now they kind of split it just down the middle, right? We have the E-core processors, which stand for efficient cores, and we also have the P-cores, which stands for performance cores. So what's cool about that is the E-cores actually can go up to 144 cores in a single processor. That's a huge jump from previous generations. If I'm not mistaken, the previous generation in the Intel 5th gen went up to 64 cores in a single processor. So again, a huge jump there. You also have the P cores, again, like I mentioned, and those can go up to 86 cores in a single processor. So even if you want to go with the performance cores, again, little bit better for the multi-threaded workloads. But regardless, like I said, a huge jump nonetheless, whether they're talking about P cores or E cores. So yeah, nice little jump there.
Now, I think that's kind of a trend we'll see as we talk about the 17th gen in general. Will be a lot. This is like a step up. There's nothing amazing that's gonna really kind of amaze people about this, but it's just everything's boosted a little bit and really geared towards those people looking for high performance.
Mm-hmm.
So your average Joe is not going to need, or your average business is not going to need 144 cores, but there are companies who will need that. And then same with RAM, and I'll turn to you for RAM. Talking about that, was there from what we were talking about earlier, not a big boost in RAM, kind of the same thing?
Yeah, it's really about the same as far as densities and levels of RAM that you can get in the server chassis themselves. Just upgrading the overall speed on these, going to the 6400s, and then obviously they'll scale up to the 86 or 88s whenever those come out. But yeah, it's still super dense. I mean, servers doing 3 terabytes, 4 terabytes of memory in some of these chassis. So very dense servers, just upgrading the speeds with this new generation.
Now, that I will say, the only shocking thing that we talked about with this was what they took away. And we were actually surprised. And I know a lot of us were going through the Dell configurators and looking for SAS SSDs, but couldn't find them. Alger, is Dell going to support SAS SSDs in 17th gen?
Yeah, it looks as though they're making the shift, whether it be from the market being harder to acquire these drives, or NVMe just becoming a little bit more cost effective. Dell's made a decision with the newer chassis to eliminate the SAS SSDs. So from there, we're just going to be looking at the NVMe options. Again, those prices do continue to go down. And I think that's kind of the driving factor. Why not just get the extra performance of an NVMe drive, kind of going all in with this really high performance servers, high core counts, high RAM counts. Let's get the NVMe drives to match and just kind of eliminate that option for the customer there at that aspect. So, but yeah, if they're getting rid of the SAS SSD options, this can be kind of interesting.
Now, yeah, I know we've been pushing NVMe for a while because of the performance boost there, and just thinking about people keeping servers for a lot longer. So 7 years from now, they'll want us to have that performance of NVMe's still on there. Any changes with NVMe's in the new gen?
Just going Gen 5s. Again, just newer technologies there. Not really doing anything from different sizes. I think we're seeing the 15s were out the end of last generation, 15 terabyte NVMe's. I think the roadmap as the 30s. I'd have to double check and see if those are actually currently out. But just increasing size and capacity is the biggest ones, and then the newer versions.
Now, Tyler, they did come out with a dramatic, air quotes on there, dramatic new iDRAC interface.
Yeah.
What's that new interface going to do for everybody?
Yeah. So before I get into that, I just want to kind of take everybody back a few years ago, right, when iDRAC 9 came out with 14 Gen, right? No more Java clunkiness. Everything's HTML5 based, everything's web GUI, or everything is very clean. It was a nice refresh from those of you guys who really have been with Dell a long time and had that iDRAC 8 and or I'm sorry, iDRAC 8, iDRAC 7, whatever, right? You've been with iDRAC for a long time. iDRAC 10 kind of expands on that, right? So there's not a lot of new features yet, but I can tell you guys that the crisp new look is amazing, right? So looks much cleaner than iDRAC 9 did. You have some color coordinated improvements on some of the dashboards that you have. It's definitely a much more like modern, futuristic kind of look to it than what iDRAC 9 did. It does add on to the key management features that you had with iDRAC 9 slightly. So for those of you guys did use, the secure key manager with iDRAC 9, this builds upon that quite a bit, as well as some of the security improvements as well. But overall, it's just mainly a cosmetic uplift. And again, it looks really, really, really nice. For those of you guys who, for the longest time, like those remote features with iDRAC 9 and wanted to, kind of want to keep those moving into iDRAC 10, that is something that you guys are going to want to stick with the iDRAC 10 enterprise licensing or higher. So that's the license you're looking for if you want those remote features. And again, iDRAC 10 is not something that's available on previous generations of PowerEdge. This is only going to be available on 17th gen and newer. So keep that in mind. If you guys are on a 16th gen still, you're still going to be on the iDRAC 9, but moving forward, iDRAC 10 for everything.
Tyler, I almost feel like you're on an Apple presentation talking with their new liquid glass, trying to sell people on how amazing it is.
That's actually my next slide.
So LJ, PCI, what's new with PCI support in the new 17th gen?
Just going to Gen 5s. So upgrading from Gen 4 to Gen 5 is really the biggest difference. Again, this generation server models is not like super transitional with crazy new features. It's really just upgrading the market, going from this version to this next version of things, just kind of staying on par with demand factors and things like that. So just upgrading to Gen 5, it's going to give some options out there. Higher performance and just more options out there available from different vendors, and see what new cards and new things like that get added in the market.
All right, LJ, I feel like I've gone to you for all of the just minor upgrade stuff. So how about we give you the 17th gen came out with some new models.
Mm-hmm.
So we had not seen an AP model before, but we're now seeing a 770AP. So the first truly interesting, I mean, not the liquid glass display, the iDRAC that Tyler was getting into, but kind of the first kind of like new thing that we're looking at. So LJ, we'll give that to you. LJ, tell us about that 77AP.
Yeah, from looking at it, it looks like it's, if you were to kind of give it a tenant or a description, it's for a very high performance, high performance build, high performance demand, being high core densities, high RAM densities, and then being able to be very dense with NVMe drives. So I almost want to think the name for it would be all performance. I'm trying to find what the AP stands for. I wasn't able to find that. But it's just a very high performance 770 model, almost kind of tailor made to be in that separate category from the 770 chassis itself. So going to be for a very high core, high performance compute customers, things like that. Yeah,
I feel like they've been doing some stuff with high performance recently, where they have the XE lines. They kind of pull that out a little bit to kind of give for those needing that they're their own go-to. Another one, actually, we went to AP. We couldn't really figure out what that stood for. And for years, we've had the XD model. So Tyler, we'll give you the 7725. The first time that AMD is getting an XD. And do you know what XD stands for? I've been using it for years, from maybe 14th gen 740 XDs, maybe even before that. And maybe extra discs, maybe.
Yeah, extra discs, extra drives, extra dense, right? Whichever one you kind of want to throw in there. Yeah, one of those, or maybe something else, right? We always joke with customers, right? The whole alphabet soup in the technical world with acronyms. So anyway, like you mentioned, right? R770AP. It's the first time AMD's had an XD variant, which is kind of cool. They describe it as being, for like object storage use cases. A lot of file based, a lot of object based storage can go in there. What really separates this from the normal R7725 is that the XD variant supports up to 24 2.5-inch U.2 Gen 5 NVMe drives. So on the normal R7725 model, you don't have Gen 5 U.2. It's the other form factor, the E3.S NVMe's. So just different form factors for the most part. But yeah, so you have the 2.5-inch U.2 Gen 5 NVMe's in this one. And just a quick little shout out though, in general, on the AMDs of the 17 Gen. Guys, you can do up to 192 cores in a single processor. not in a server, in a single processor. Like it's kind of crazy because at this point, right, if a customer or you know someone reaches out, hey, I need 384. Are you talking about total memory you need in the server? You're talking about total cores? Like we don't know at this point, right? You got to be really specific when really fine tuning, what the build you're looking at the server. But yeah, so lots of neat stuff with the server. But again, the main variant or difference in the variant between the 7725XD and the normal one is the fact that these ones support the U.2 NVMe Gen 5. So.
That would be an amazing VMware bill. To go with a cluster of those. Oh, I guess if you need the performance, you need the performance. So what are you going to do?
Right.
So we've talked about, okay, 17th Gen, this is what it comes with. But so when someone reaches out to xByte, what are the extra stuff beyond the technical pieces that customers get by coming to us, Tyler? Can we help them out with like demos, anything like that?
Yeah.
What do kind of our solution architects? What do you guys do for customers?
Yeah, we have nerds like LJ and I lining up or waiting to do demos. And that can be, hardware based, software based, right? Whatever you guys want to see. And even just beyond, demos of say, what the new iDRAC 10 looks like, or, what the new, storage array looks like, right? From a management standpoint, right? We can really take this a lot deeper than that. We have customers who reach out and want to, maybe see if their workload profile, the IO profile is going to run good on, say the new NVMe Gen 5s, E3.S compared to the U.2, right? We can spin that up in an environment and kind of see what that looks like. We've done several tests before. You might have seen some of our other blog posts where we've tested maybe, NVMe performance on a hardware RAID controller versus a, software RAID controller, right? We've done these kinds of tests that all started from, maybe customers are saying, I wonder, and we'll just go into it, right? So it's just a lot of fun that we can kind of, do from a technical standpoint, and also really just kind of bring those performance curiosities right to life. So yeah, there's a lot that we can do there.
So Tyler or LJ, Tyler talked about us doing stuff for customers where we do demos, we do proof of concept at our facility where we kind of run or we run benchmark testing and proof of concepts for us. What else do we do for customers as far as on their site? Can we actually ship them stuff for proof of concepts on our own?
Yeah, we do that. And then I said outside of that too, we mentioned a lot of these big upgrades going into these servers, right? 200 plus cores, 300 cores in the dual socket systems, crazy memory densities. I think going to, people like Tyler and I and our peers have that conversation is, do you actually need that amount, right? Not trying to oversell you, right sizing solutions. It's cool that things can do these crazy numbers, these crazy densities, but going to someone that's really going to steer you in the right direction and not just sell you something to sell you something, but put you in the right situation and right sizing, whether it be tools like Live Optics help us drive us in that scenario. But yeah, going to us for things like that, and then demoing it out for you. Make sure you're going to be happy with what you're going to get. Just good reasons to go to us and have those conversations.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end it on, is that coming to xByte, because we're going to find the right size solution for you and not oversell you. I think that's where a lot of people come to us because of everything that we can do. So guys, thank you guys very much for joining me as we talk about 17th Gen servers. And everybody who's watching, listening, stay tuned as we will do more dedicated ones for each of the models we talked about today. So thank you guys very much. It's Ryan Brown, joining me Tyler Young, LJ Palin. I'm signing off for On-Prem Pros.